All right, y'all, welcome back to the podcast. Imagine, create, and inspire. 3 words in a very deliberate sequential order. One that leads to the other. Imagination leads to creation. Creation leads to inspiration. And inspiration, when you properly apply it, produces hope. And hope is a commodity. Hope is fuel for the human soul. And that's what all about. Some hope for the human soul. And I got somebody for y'all today. It's Jimmy Hall, y'all, the king of rock and soul.
You are listening to Imagine, Create, Inspire, the podcast. Join host Bruce Andrews in conversations with creatives. Every artist has a story, and the struggle is real to stay inspired and in the flow. Join in the conversation by leaving us your comments, and thanks for listening.
I'll start off this way. Bands that we all love have guitar players. They got bass players. They got drummers. They got horn sections, but they only got one front man. And to be a front man, you got to have the genes, the Genes genes to do it. And so, Jimmy, not only were you the fiery front man for Wet Willie all these years that we know about, but you seem to be comfortable being the front man with whomever you play with. Is that the truth?
Well, yeah. It's something I worked on ever since I started singing or realizing that I could sing when I was, 5, 6, 7 years old. I don't know. I felt real comfortable with it because it was something that came naturally. And I felt like later on, especially, I realized I had a gift. And that gift came from the good Lord above and a gene pool that started with my mother's parents and went through her and my mother, who played piano and sang in the church, and her parents played and sang in the church. And then she sang in these high school musicals and things like that. She saw that spark in me and that talent and really tried to nurture it all along till pretty soon. I mean, I was in the 5th grade in a little Mert school in Mobile, Alabama. And we put on these productions every year. And that year we did HMS Pinafore, Gilbert and Sullivan. And I got one of the leading parts. I was Ralph Rackstraw. There's some pictures around, if you could see, of me in the British Navy looking straw hat and a little striped shirt and everything. And they put a little makeup on me. And I hated that part, but nonetheless, I really embraced that role and had a lot of fun with it. And the leading female was Buttercup, was her name in the play. And so that was Marcia Torben. She was a neighbor, friend of mine. So we got to do a lot of rehearsals, like after school, during the week or whatever, to learn the lines and kind of work together on our verbal repartee in this stuff. But my point, I'm rambling here, but my point is I felt so at ease. I was prepared, but yet I got up there and a lot of people my age would be pretty shaky, maybe pretty scared. And I just felt like, this is something I can do. This is something that's fun, and I can sing these songs, and people like it. People are clapping and smiling, and I'm going, that's the first time I said or thought, I think I'd like to do this. I might want to do this as a life's work, job, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
I might want to be this. And that's where it really started and went on from there. I mean, there's the whole kind of trajectory of playing instruments, learning to play violin in the 6th grade, because that school, for a small little public school, they promoted the arts. And I think the parents had a lot to do with it. But we had a string teacher that would come once a week. My mother said, why don't you try that? Because you got a good ear. So I got in that once a week class and had a good ear. So I was able to play in tune. But just taking a year of it, one less than a week, I learned the rudiments. I learned a few songs and a few melodies and had a good feel for it. But from there, I seventh grade, they offered band in junior high school. So seventh grade, junior high school. My brother Jack, of course, 2 years ahead of me, and went on to play bass with Wet Willie and everything. He was playing clarinet in the junior high school band already. So when I had an opportunity to be in the junior high school band, my mother said, you know, they're often a lot of instruments that are cool, or that you might want to try. Like, she said, I love the saxophone. Why don't you try to play that? So I jumped ship on the classical world and started playing saxophone when I was in seventh grade, and really liked that a lot. But so it goes on from there. I mean, playing in my first bands, and had a lot of fun playing all those songs of the 60s and the 70s and all that stuff. But so ask me another question before I start just talking about me.
Well, you ramble all you want to, brother. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I'm sure everybody else is. I mean, so let's ramble from there to maybe 1969, where, you know, you guys were, I mean, what led up to the, I guess, audition to be on the label?
Yeah. That's a good piece there. So in between all that, like I said, had some of my first starter bands, little garage bands. And my brother Jack he had some other bands. He started and had his own band, and his band opened up for the Animals, for Eric Burdon and the Animals. And they had bought these, I call them Beatle suits, kind of iridescent looking sharp, didn't have any collars on them. So they were going for that kind of British look. And in fact, their drummer looked a lot like George Harrison, but that was pretty exciting for them. But so I had some bands and around Mobile, people knew a couple of things. One was, I wasn't crazy about the name, but we thought it was cool at the time because really, let me tell you, it was called the Devil's Disciples. And that just sounds like nothing but Satanism. But we just called it on our business card, on our card, it said, the soul fire sounds of the Devil's Disciples. We thought that was a cool thing to have. But anyway, and then later on in Mrs. O'Leary's Cow, with golly, a bunch of great players, and Beth Williams was a female vocalist, and Stanley Clark, the late great, was a guitar player and band leader. And we got in this battle of the bands. It was a national thing, and won the local competition. We won the local one. Then we did the regional in Charlotte, and we won that. And then they sent us to New York City, and this is like 1968. New York City. Me and Mrs. O'Leary's Cow. We were at the Cheetah Discotheque. That's where they had this contest. But anyway, we played our show, and we were doing some really good versions of some copy material and a couple originals. But we won that whole thing, that whole national contest. And it wasn't a band that I could see was going to go really successful, because we really only did copy material at that time. But really, that was a good experience and a good honor. You know, well, they gave us the key to the city when we came back from that from winning that. So I'm gonna move forward real fast too. My brother Jack and I were working together in the same band. So in that band, the Devil's Disciples or whatever, we worked together, and he played bass with me. And we started working on finding the best players that we knew in our area, in Mobile and surrounding areas. And by that time, we played with all the good players or got to know them. And Ricky Hirsch was a key member when he graduated from University of Alabama. He came home to Mobile and we got introduced to him, and we really loved his style. And he became the piece that made that lineup with Louis Ross on drums and my brother Jack on bass. And we had another player that was with us for part of the time, and that was Marshall Smith. He's a Mobile guy who played guitar and was a really good singer too. But we started out with that, and especially when Ricky joined, and we liked him because he could bend notes and play the blues, and he loved B.B. King. So he was playing all this great blues and bending notes. I hadn't heard a guitar player before that could do those blues licks. And anyway, we worked hard, rehearsed a lot, experimented with writing some of our first songs, and to the point where, okay, we've been playing locally, and then we started getting some gigs like in Arkansas or New Orleans, Johnny's Smokehouse over there in Pascagoula, Mississippi. Everybody talks about that. A lot of bands played that as one of their first out-of-town gigs, But we got to the point, and here we are. So, 1969, my brother and I were going and attending University of South Alabama. It was a brand new school back then. It's just getting built, and everything getting established there, and still working on the curriculum. And my brother Jack, he was already 3 years, and he might have only had a year to go or less, maybe maybe 1 or 2 semesters left if he would graduate. I only had 2 years in, but something told us that if we were going to make a move and become musicians and go for it and dedicate all our energy and everything we had into our career, that we had to do it now. And we had to figure out where we wanted to do it. And we looked around New Orleans, Miami, Muscle Shoals, all these music cities, in Nashville even. And the beacon that we saw all of a sudden was Macon, Georgia, the Allman Brothers, and the Allman Brothers' first album. When we heard that recording, it just really impressed us. And Greg's vocals, the guitar work, just the style, a blues rock kind of with jazz inflections, and we said, that's where we need to be. That the Allman Brothers are on Capricorn Records. They're the only band on Capricorn Records. And maybe we should talk to them. Maybe we should try to make a connection. So this is a sign that said you're moving in the right direction. Ricky Hirsch, of course, graduated from University of Alabama, was in a fraternity. He had a fraternity brother that he knew was in Macon, Georgia, and his name was Frank Friedman, and he was a guitar player, songwriter. He was on staff at that point with Capricorn. So Ricky said, "Hey, I know this guy. We ought to call him. Let me try to get his number." So calls Frank Freeman says, "Hey, Frank, I got a band here in Mobile. We've been working hard on our songs, our music, and our style, and we're ready to record. We're ready to take that step forward into serious life as musicians." And he said, "Okay, let me see what I can do. I'll call you back." So he talked to the higher ups, I guess it would be Walden, and Frank Fenner, and Phil Walden. So he talked to them and said, "I've got some friends here, and I'm going to vouch for them that they're worthy of at least an audition." So we communicated with them. They said, "This is what you need to do. We want to do a live audition." And I thought that was pretty good, just because they'll see what they're getting. They're not just listening to a demo tape. We want to do a live audition. We have a rehearsal, like a studio warehouse. And just pack up your stuff and come on over. And this is the date, and we'll see you there, and we'll make sure you got a place to stay and everything. So we packed our stuff, and we had been rehearsing and knew we formed a set that we wanted to play for them. We thought it out and mapped it out, and got to Macon and met Phil and Frank Fenner and the heads of the label, and set up our stuff. And they said, "Okay, let's hear it." So we jumped into about a 45, 50-minute set of our best material, some original things we'd worked on, some original songs. One was Red Hot Chicken. We had that already put together, and another original blues number. But at the end, they were smiling. They were happy and shaking our hands. And Frank Fenner says, I can't say the words that he said exactly, but basically it's about rock and roll. But he says, "You're the American Rolling Stones. You know, Jimmy Hall, you look kind of like Mick Jagger, and you got that kind of voice, it's soulful and bluesy, and you got that feel." So they were really excited about that direction and whatever. So we signed it up. It went on to, they gave us a contract to look at, and we signed on for that first album, or it was a recording contract that involved recording one album a year for as long as they liked it and we liked it, and we could keep going with it. And that led for me to see how many years in Macon. I was in Macon 10 years, but in the time between 70 and even say 76, we had done 6 or 7 albums and one best of collection. And among that, 2 live albums. I mean, the third album was Drippin' Wet Live, and then we did The Wetter the Better, which was an album we recorded in LA. But yeah, that's a great chapter in our book, which we haven't written yet. It's just about that whole rise with Capricorn, and the opportunity and the honor of being on the road with the Allman Brothers when Dwayne was alive, and Barry was there, and all the original members, and I cherish all those memories of being around, especially Dwayne, because he was gone so soon, and Barry also. But that really kickstarted our career as far as working with the Allmans and a lot of other great acts, everybody you can think of, from Alice Cooper or Johnny Winter or ZZ Top. Well, there's so many of them. But I'm tired of talking about that. Let's no, I never get tired of it, but it could get pretty lengthy.
I'm not tired of it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of live albums, and I would say that seriously, my top 2 out of top 10 are Road Work from Edgar Winter and the White Trash, and then Drippin' Wet by Wet Willie. I mean, I know, I played that album so many times that I know even when a stack of chairs fell on the record or whatever that noise was, it was and I can't think of Ricky Hirsch's name without saying Ricky Lee Hirsch, because that's how you introduced him when he did a solo on the album. It's like, it's ingrained in my gray matter, dude.
Yeah, it's like on that live album, Drip Wet, there's some fireworks that go off. Is
that what it is?
Firecracker. Yeah. And I think they threw them on the stage, but they didn't land close to anybody. And later on, we were playing New Orleans or that area, and a guy came up to us and said, "Hey, by the way, that was me that threw those fireworks." I said, "Well, don't ever do that again."
No. Well, tell me, man, what as you brought the fire with Wet Willie as a front man. It was like you're in the pulpit like a Southern Baptist preacher, and so no matter who you tend to play with, when you get that opportunity to slide into that front slot, it seems comfortable for you. Is that part of what makes you such a sought after collaborator? I mean, because you not only write music with these people, share the stage with these people like Warren Haynes, Jack Pearson, Hank Williams Jr. I mean, you collaborate with them. I mean, is that part of what makes you like one of their favorite go-tos?
Yeah, I think so. I think what I've learned is, so I know, and people that follow my career know my opportunities with some of the Allman Brothers, even Dickie Betts and Chuck Leavell and Butch Trucks and I had that short. It was 82, 83, and 84. A little run with a group called BHLT. So that's Betts, Hall, Leavell, and Trucks. And that was Dickie's vision, or his idea was, let's put this thing together. And at that time, the Allmans weren't touring together. They had kind of, I don't know, taken some time apart. So we toured all over the country for a couple of years there. Never did a record, but there's a live album that's out live at the Coffee Pot or somewhere in Virginia, Roanoke. And then with Greg, I toured with him in the Greg Allman and Friends, and he would tour in the fall when the Allmans weren't touring. So he'd tour September, late September, later on down even in October, November. But I did that 94, 5, 6, 7, right in there. And what I'm getting at is that, and along the way in 92, Hank Williams asked me, or one of his band players that I'm friends with, and he called me and said, well, Hank wants a harmonica player, and you play saxophone. That's 2 things you do. You sing backup, whatever, but he needs somebody because a guy named Terry McMillan, who had been on the road with Hank, was having some problems with one of his daughters, I guess, at home. And he said, I can't be out on the road right now. I need to get back home and take care of some family business. So that's how I got that call. So yeah, that led to now 31 years with Hank Jr. And this, if you would have told me that back when I started that I was going to stick it out or just last this long and keep doing it. But Hank still wants me around, and I bring him. He never goes to a sound check because I'll do all the songs, sing the songs, and run the band. And I've hired all the players for a long time in his band. But it comes down to one really main factor in a lot of this, that I don't ever take my talent for granted, and I can deliver it. But I know when I'm with another artist, when to stand back and be a team player, or be a harmony singer, or make it more of a collaboration instead of, listen to me, I'm the great Jimmy Hall with a voice that never stops. And, you know, I'm not a chest beater that much, really.
Right,
But,
man.
There were times that both Greg Allman and Jeff Beck, in the most polite or whatever. It wasn't a harsh way that they presented it. It's just like, oh, by the way, like Greg said, hey, could you kind of dial it back a little bit for me? And you're killing me here. No, all you got to do is tell me what you want. You know, I can get out there and get those people all excited for it if you want, and whatever you want me to do. And the thing with the Hank's the same way. I mean, I don't sing a lot of lead vocals on songs. I sing harmonies, and every once in a while I'll get up and do one of my songs with him. But being a team player, you know, in certain situations like that, even Jeff Beck, I would tend to go, I get on the mic and go, come on, everybody, let's hear it for Jeff Beck, guitar player in the world. Everybody listen to this guy, and start, you know, I tell them about a certain song we were doing. And Jeff sat me down and says, you don't need to do all that, really. I appreciate it, but he says, I like to really keep my mystique. And if you've seen Jeff Beck shows with or without a vocalist, it doesn't really matter, but he hardly says a word. Most shows he might say, hello, thank you very much. Good to see, good to be here. Or on some of the tours, or most of the time, at the end, when we're all up there doing our bow, he would introduce the players. But it's he lets his guitar do the talking. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace up in rock and roll heaven.
That was quite a run. You ran with him from like 86 on or something like that?
Yeah. It's wow. By the way, recently I've gotten more serious about making plans and mapping out and moving forward on my book. And it just comes down to, my wife, my 3 sons, all, you got to do this now. It's time to, you've got the stories, you remember most all of it. And I think the people will love to read it. But with Jeff, I'll make this part short. It was 1972. We'd only been in Macon for a couple years, and got a call from, I think it was from Johnny Sandlin, but he said, hey, Jimmy, are you open tonight? Listen, I got a call from Jeff Beck's manager, and he's in the States, and he's coming to Macon and bringing his drummer, Cozy Powell, with him. And they want to check out our studio, and they're kind of in search of a sound, in search of that soulful, bluesy sound that people get at Capricorn. They've been to Motown right before that, where they did the same thing, and they hung out with Stevie Wonder and some of those folks, and written Superstition with Stevie. And so he came to Macon, and I was a big fan. It was such an honor. That was the first time I'd ever met him. I'd played Yardbird songs in my bands and listened to all his music. But so Johnny Sandlin said, okay, get your brother Jack to come because we're going to have a jam session. We're going to just go in the studio, turn on the machines, and play whatever you want, because Jeff just wants to get a feel for it. So we get there, and Jeff's just real personable, and so is Cozy, and we just start throwing out things, just random blues. Like there was one by, I think it was Electric Flag. And I called it Texas, but it was one Buddy Miles sings. It was a blues song. Excuse me. And so we did that one. And I know the one that I always remember, because Jeff loved old rock and roll, old rockabilly. So we played 40 Miles of Bad Road by Dwayne Eddy. You know, and we just had a lot of fun for a while and just kind of played the blues and whatever we wanted to. And at the end, he seemed happy with it and was, okay, that's great. And that was it for a while. I knew that it's kind of like, I'll let you know. I'll let you guys know what we decide. Well, they went to Memphis right after that. And in Memphis, I think they collaborated or met Steve Cropper. And that seemed to be what they were looking for. And this R&B and all the stack stuff that had been recorded there, and rock and roll too. But they kind of found what they were looking for there in Memphis and did that. Was it Rough and Ready and whatever the album with the orange on it, and with they did Going Down. Yeah, what was his name? Tench. Anyway, the singer that sang Going Down, they had a good band for that. But so that was really my beginning with Jeff Becker, his introduction to hearing me sing and knowing what I do. And a year later, and this just kept the connection going. A year later, Jeff's manager called us and let us know that Jeff wanted Wet Willie to open up his tour in '73. That was with his trio, Beck, Boger, and Appice, BBA, with Carmine and Timmy, Carmine, Appice, and Tim Boger. So that was a thrill, and we got to know Jeff even better and played, 30, 40 shows with him all over the U.S. And at the end of some of those shows, Jeff would go, or even, no, like before he started his set, he said, "Hey, Jim, hang around tonight. Watch our show. I want you to play some blues, sing some blues on this one. We're going to jam the last song." So we would do that. And then later on, at the very end of the tour, we're saying our goodbyes or see you laters. And he said, "Shake my hand." I said, "Okay." He said, "Promise me we're going to do a record together. Promise me and you, we're going to do a record together." And I said, "Hey, I'll give you my word. If you call me, I'm coming." Okay. And I just couldn't believe he wanted to do that. And so it took from 73 to 84, that was 11 years, that I got the call that he wanted me to fly to New York. And he had started an album, a solo album, with Nile Rodgers producing. This guy who was, was a great producer, did a lot of work around that time. But he, of course, was a member of that group Chic, and just a cool guy. But he had written and co-written some songs with Jeff, and they had recorded these things and wanted me to sing them. And that's where it started. There was a song called gosh, see, this could take hours, all this stuff that's going on.
Oh, good.
It could take hours. But I'll tell you, very short, okay, that when I flew up to do this session with Jeff. My wife, Karen, was pregnant with our second child. And when I was leaving, I said, well, okay, they want me to come to New York and sing these songs. And I don't know when I'll be back, but I'll probably be, Saturday, Sunday. This was a Thursday. So I flew on Thursday. Well, she said, I said, I'm nervous about this. I could miss the birth of my son. She said, you need to go. This baby will wait. I said, okay. All right. So I get on the plane, go and get there, and the songs, everything kind of came naturally. I gave them what they wanted and put my soul into it and tried to adjust to more of a blues rock kind of sound. And we did a song called Ambitious during those sessions. And that turned out to be one of the singles that we did a video for. We did a video. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold it right here. And I got to go outside and give another perspective here because.
Cool.
Anyway. Yeah, that song Ambitious became a single later on. And we did a video that you can still see today. It was on MTV music videos. So it had so many special guests. Well, a lot of people have seen it. It's kind of funny. But what I was talking about for that session was I flew home on Saturday night and got back to Nashville. Then about 3:00 in the morning, my wife went into labor and we went to the hospital, and about close to 12 noon on Sunday, June 24th, our son, Alexander Jeffrey Hall, was born, named after Jeff because it was Jeff's birthday.
Wow.
So that was a very coincidental, ironic situation. We just said, and Alex has been, all through his life, it's like, Jeff is my godfather. And they've met a few times on the road and everything and kept up. But Jeff was a great friend.
I know you miss him, dude. We all do. And that's an epic story. Hey, when did you? I mean, I'm curious about your songwriting because I'm such a fan of it, especially Ready Now. I mean,
yeah.
Like this lyric, each and every day, the choices that I made could have put me in my grave, but here I stand. I mean, that's righteous, dude. I mean, Are you feeling a spiritual vibe on this record?
Yeah. Basically, we're coming out of COVID. During COVID, I was writing songs and coming up with ideas. I'd made a commitment with Joe Bonamassa that we were doing it on his label, and he was co-producing. And once the ideas started flowing, they kept going. And really, it really started with this one song that I co-wrote with Jeff Silbar. And Jeff has lived in Nashville, maybe where I first met him, but his studio and his house it's got a great studio in it. He lives in Century City outside of LA, kind of up in the hills. But we'd been writing together. Had one song called A Long Goodbye that's on the album that I wrote with him a few years ago. But this one, it just came from this idea of so many people that I know, including my younger brother, because I'm one of 6 siblings. I'm second of 6. And my brother Jack was the older brother. Then I had 3 sisters in a row. Donna was one of those, Cindy and Susan, and then my younger brother, Travis. But my younger brother and other people in my life, friends, have had challenges and problems with alcohol or substances. It could even be Greg Allman who fought that for so long. And I was with him during those years that he finally became sober, and he had to, and he got a liver transplant at that point. But it was about these people, and in a way, it was about what I wanted to hear them say. Some of this, it could be about me. I never was an alcoholic, although I had a grandfather that was, and it kind of ran through my gene pool of family because my younger brother had that problem. But I put this in the voice of any one of those that needed help. And I wanted to hear them say, I wanted to hear my younger brother say, this is what I've been through. And I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm ready to get better, and I'm ready to let go and let God. I'm ready to accept any kind of help from whoever can help me. And so those are where the lyrics came from. And Jeff Silbar really helped me form the lyrics, and he was a great collaborator on that one. We tried to write, and I tried to write more uplifting songs, and coming through COVID and surviving that or getting through it. It's had a long tail, but trying to move forward from that. So there's songs like Rising Up that I co-wrote with Joe and Tom Hambridge, who's a great blues drummer, producer. But yeah, Rising Up. I put one foot in front of the other. Nothing's going to keep me down. I'm rising up. And then songs like Jeff and I wrote Jumping for Joy. Now, Jumping for Joy is it is a joyful song. It's just uplifting, or it makes you want to dance. And that's what I wanted to do. Jeff came up with the title. And we would throw titles around and see what was caught our ear, or what we thought had some promise. So one day he just said, I got a few titles. I said, let me see what you got. He said, how about this, Jumping for Joy? I said, man, I want to write that. Let's do that one tomorrow. So I'm going to work on that tonight. So overnight, I wrote most of the lyrics, at least the beginning and the chorus, just really quickly. And that one, that came fast. And it was because everybody needs more joy. And I wrote it about my wife, and she's been a subject of several of my songs through the years. And this one, this one was fun. She really liked it. And we did a video that was It was fun. I'm using the word fun a lot, but it was a thrill to do what we did, and it was kind of daring because the videographer came up with this idea, and we were kind of stumbling around thinking, wow, what do we do for this video? And he said, let's just go downtown Nashville on Broadway and turn on the camera. We're going to put earbuds in you. You can hear the song. We'll have it on a phone, and you carry that. And I'll just walk in front of you and back up, and you just come toward me. He's like 10 feet, 12 feet in front of me. And we'll just do the song. We'll go through this crowd of people because it won't be too crowded, but, you know, there'll be some people there, and they'll react to how they'll react. They'll just go, hey, this is cool. I want to clap along. Or they'll go, what the hell is going on here? Who is that guy? And what is he singing about? But everybody seems to love it just because it was pretty spontaneous, and there's a lot of just things that happen that you just didn't know was going to happen that made it magic.
I love the video. And every track on the record gets to me. I mean, most of it, like I said, it's got a spiritual uplifting church vibe. And then you got that, was that Girls Got Sugar?
Yeah.
I mean, you come ripping out of the gate with that track.
Yeah, that one, Tom Hammond wrote a lot of that, or Tom and Joe. What I always contributed some lyrics and some ideas that relate to my life and my relationship. So there's a verse in it that says, a little hotel room in Memphis, some soft candlelight, but she sure did treat me right. But it was about a night in Memphis that my wife had with me. We had together a nice romantic night, and it just fit with the song really well because she's a sweetheart and she's got the sugar, you know.
Right on, man. Right on. Hey, so I couldn't be more excited about you coming down here October 20th.
Yes.
To Little Columbiana, Alabama, to the Song Theater. Do you know who you're going to bring with you at this time?
Yeah, but I've had so much fun. I had so much fun with the lineup that I brought last time. And I reached out to all the guys that played it before because I felt like, I mean, we're going to bring a little bit more this time because we've played these songs and we've played other songs and kind of got a good repertoire of all kinds of material. But I feel like everybody felt the same way about that show, that there was so much that happened right. The crowd was so responsive, but they also, it was like they wanted to have a Q&A. They wanted to, let's ask Jimmy Hall what's going on. So there was a lot of that back and forth in between songs where somebody would say, hey, Jimmy, when you coming over here to do this? Hey, Jimmy, I heard you were gonna da-da-da-da. And I would just answer it. And it was just kind of a natural part of of the show. And I felt real relaxed there. And especially because I had the right team of players with me. So we'll have Will McFarlane on guitar. We'll have Lynn Williams on drums. And we'll have Ted Pecchio on bass. And we'll have me and maybe special guests. I'm talking to my sister Donna because we've been doing a lot of shows where she sings harmony, and especially on these songs from the new album, she's got all the parts down and just adds a lot to it. But yeah, I like the size of that venue. It's I can see everybody, and the sound was just spot on. So yeah, I'm so glad we got to do this. So we played, when was it? February 12th. It wasn't last year, was it?
No, it was the year before because remember we had to cancel the show and move it because we were coming out of COVID.
That's right. So it's about time. It's
You
about
gotta do
time.
it right.
But yeah, it's a perfect time for me because it's cooler. October is just a great month to play anywhere, but I'm gonna get real busy there after Thanksgiving with the Almond Family Revival, and I've done that for 6 or 7 years now, between Thanksgiving and week before Christmas or so. But I think it's the perfect date. And anybody that's listening to this, I tell all your friends, come on back, and we'll pick up where we left off the last show, because I had such a great time that one.
I love the idea of having some time with Jimmy Hall. Like, everybody feels like it's one-on-one connection with you when they come to the show at the Song Theater, man. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, that feeling that that they kind of already know me, and it's quite all right to. It's like, I'm not gonna be so pompous as not to answer, or going, "Hey, I'm trying to do a show up here." You know, that's Jimmy Hall. You could talk to him. You know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, I'm a huge fan, dude. I mean, you have. I'll say this as a personal thank you. I mean, I love everything you've done. I mean, I can remember in the 70s, you know, probably 74 buying 73, 74 buying Dripping Wet.
Yeah.
I mean, you influenced everything I like about blues-based music, and the fact you're still doing it with great fervor like a Baptist preacher means a lot to me.
Yeah. I will start preaching a little bit, and I always think about when I was growing up, and I was a steady member of the Kingswood Methodist Church, a small Methodist church that I attended from early on and through my teenage years. I sang in the choir, and at one point, my mom just, because it was such a small church that the adults and the young adults and teenagers would be in the same choir, so they needed all the help they can get from any member. But so my mom would say, "Jim, you're gonna be my preacher. You're gonna be my preacher." Going, well, we'll see. Okay. I don't know. So I'm preaching from the stage sometimes, and I come from a long line of churchgoers and believers, so that has to come out.
Well, let's wrap up this way, because I mean, it's kind of interesting for me since I'm a grandpa. You know, I mean, you got these you got one grandson. Is that what you got?
I got so my son Alex, who was the middle name Jeffrey, he's my middle son, and he and his wife Colby live in Memphis, and his day job is he's an attorney, but all my sons like to participate in the music and will play on my shows, or he plays drums. But he and his wife Colby had our first grandchildren. They're identical twin girls, and one's named Everly, and her name is Everly James after me, and then Olivia Whittington Hall, and they will be 3 years old on August 27th, and they're sweet. They're blonde-headed, curly, blue-eyed girls who are already singing and have their own little microphones to get up on a little table and put on shows and stuff at 2 years old, 3 years old. They run around the house singing together. I gave them some harmonica, so they're getting started on that. But yeah, life is good.
Thanks for listening to Imagine, Create, Inspire, the podcast. For more information on the Shelby County Arts Council, please visit www.shelbycountyartscouncil.com.